Greetings, friends. Welcome to Pathways of Hope. My name is Jim Orbe. Today is February 15th, Wednesday of week 6 in Ordinary Time. The Gospel reading for today is taken from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, verses 22 to 26. Here we have a good news that Jesus is the one who can heal blindness. One of the striking things about this particular miracle that Jesus performed, healing a blind man in this gospel, is a gradual healing of blindness. In the four gospels, we find Jesus healing all sort of blind men. The blind man and demoniac in Matthew 12. The two blind men sitting beside the road calling on Jesus as Son of David. In Matthew 20, he healed a blind man, Bartimaeus, in the later chapter of the same gospel, in chapter 10. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 18, he healed a blind man when he was traveling to Jericho. And lastly, in the Gospel of John, chapter 9, he restored the sight of a blind man who was born blind. So this episode is unique among all the miracles recorded in the Gospels as the only healing that takes place in two stages. One scripture commentator would say that this has a symbolic purpose. As a real life parable, it signifies the coming of faith of the disciples whom Jesus has just chided when he said, "Do you have eyes and not see, or ears and not hear?" Together with the other healings, help us to understand or help us to drive home the fact that only the Lord can overcome our spiritual blindness and deafness. The healing of the blind man will be followed by a radical confession of faith that will mark the turning point of the gospel. We also find in this particular healing, Jesus first establishes a personal contact with the blind man by taking him by the hand, recalling the Old Testament theme that God Himself leads His people by the hand in Isaiah 4 or Isaiah 41 and Jeremiah 31. And similar to the healing of the deaf man in the earlier chapter, this cure involves a degree of physical contact that modern readers may find disconcerting. Putting spittle on his eyes, literally spitting into his eyes. Jesus laid his hands on him. At times, the mere word of Jesus is sufficient to heal. In other cases, his body is the instrument, reminding us that God is not embarrassed by the earthiness of the human body and even delight to use it as a vehicle of His grace. Jesus' question, "Do you see anything?" involves the man in the dynamics of his own recovery of sight. His reply bespeaks a partial recovery. He sees people looking like trees. The fact that he knows what trees look like indicates that he was not born blind, but lost his sight due to illness or injury. Now, his vision is beginning to be restored, but he still cannot distinguish other objects clearly. The gradualness of his recovery symbolizes the slow and difficult process of opening the disciples' eyes to an understanding of Jesus and his mission. But Jesus will not leave the man with only partial restoration. he lays on his hands again. And now the healing is complete. Jesus sends the man home now that he is able to walk on his own without guidance. Friends, are we like the disciples or the blind man who was healed with his blindness? Like in the process of healing that was gradual, don't we also experience our own gradual growth in understanding? The eyes of the people at the time of Jesus are partly open to see that Jesus is the Messiah, but their vision of him is still shadowy and obscure. They will need a further divine enlightenment to recognize that his messiahship is inseparable linked with the mystery of the cross. I pray that the Lord may enlighten our own spiritual eyes, that we may also see who Jesus really is, the Lord who can save us. God bless you.